Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our services, we ask that you kindly turn off all cell phones or electronic devices or place them on silent. Thank you.
Esa Einai El Heharim, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri, Ezri Me'im Adonai Ose Shamayim Va'aretz. I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from Adonai, the maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul, your going and your coming, now and forever. Our Torah portion this Shabbat comes right on the heels of the story of the golden calf. As the Israelites' leader Moses is on top of Mount Sinai receiving the commandments from God, the Israelites decide to build a golden idol in his absence. Seeing the golden calf as Moses descends from the mountaintop, Moses throws the tablets with the commandments inscribed on them to the ground, and they shatter. We know later that Moses ascends Mount Sinai once again and receives a second set of tablets. But the Midrash, the rabbinic commentary on this portion, raises the question of what happened to the shattered pieces of the first tablets that he broke. The answer given is that those broken pieces were gathered together and placed inside the ark, right next to the newly inscribed second set. A reminder to us all that the broken and the whole live side by side in our lives at all times. The moments of challenge and difficulty, the shattering moments we experience as human beings, live right next to the moments of celebration and love and joy. And those two sets of tablets, one broken and one whole, also remind us of the choice of how we respond to the experiences in our lives that is always within our power. In so many ways, we get to determine the power those moments have over who we will become, as Adrienne modeled so beautifully and so gracefully throughout her life. This morning, as we come together to honor Adrienne's life, to celebrate the love she shared so freely, and to reflect on the memories of simply being in her presence and enjoying spending the moments of life together, we recognize the magnitude of what it means to lose a matriarch of a family. And we extend our deepest condolences to her children, to Sharon, Janet, and Anne, and to Stephen, who preceded her in death, to Fred, Ray, and Bruce, Adrienne's son-in-laws, whom she loved so deeply and considered to be her true sons, to her grandchildren, to whom she was always Mom, Tori and Rob, Maddie, Rachel and Nick, Greg and Anna, and Jenny, to her great-grandchildren, to whom she was a beloved Gigi, to Carly and Haley, and to so many extended family members and friends, some here with us today, some watching on our live stream, and many others who considered Adrienne to simply be part of their family over the years. And of course, we also especially think of Adrienne's Beshert, her soulmate, Joe, to whom she was married for nearly 65 years when he passed away in 2019. They met on a blind date and were still so very much in love nearly 7 decades later, a passionate type of love that was never short on physical displays of affection, even when it especially embarrassed their children to witness it. Adrienne was the baby of her family, and her own mother died when she was only 7 years old, being absent from the family due to illness ever since Adrienne was a baby. It meant that Adrienne was really raised by her sisters and housekeepers, a childhood filled with good, bad, and quite interesting stories. Her father remarried when she was a teenager, and in order to remain in her current school district, Adrienne went to live with her newly married sister, who was 16 years older than she was. It was, to say the least, a challenging childhood, but despite the difficulties thrown Adrienne's way, she became a unique, one-of-a-kind, optimistic, life-embracing kind of person who truly lived her days with a zest for life and all it had in store. Although she had no real model for what it looked like to be a mother, as Sharon shared, she was an innately awesome mom. Janet and Ann also shared how their mom was always available, somehow giving all 4 of her children the attention they needed. And while she may not have been one to verbally express, "I love you," all 3 of her daughters commented on how they always felt loved and how they always knew just how much she did love them. And the feeling was mutual, even at times when it wasn't always cool to like your mom. Adrienne was very active, and she made the most of each day. She was a great cook, even though, again, having no person to teach her, she loved playing around with recipes and was always happy to experiment. Her interests were diverse. She had an artsy side, an athletic side, playing tennis and being part of a bowling league. She and Joe loved to travel. As her daughters commented, it's much easier to name the places they hadn't gotten to than to try to name all the countries and continents they visited around the world. Adrienne was also incredibly active in her community, serving as the president of her local chapter of the League of Women Voters, president of the auxiliary of the Jewish Geriatric Home, and vice president of the Hebrew School, to name a few. And when her children grew up, went to college, she herself joined the workforce, although always regretting that she herself never had the opportunity to go to college. She went into advertising, where she was named top salesman of the year over and over and over again. She loved to play bridge, and Adrienne and Joe also enjoyed attending concerts in the ballet, the orchestra, and the opera, visiting museums, checking out restaurants, seeing plays at the Arden, and listening to chamber music in Philadelphia. As her daughters commented, Adrienne was an intuitive person with a high level of emotional intelligence and a naturally curious mind. She picked things up quickly, and people often joke that she must have been a doctor in a previous life. People looked to her for advice, and she made friends easily. Even when she moved to Evergreen's, not an easy transition, but Adrienne quickly created a sense of community around her. And when her children suggested that they have a small birthday party for Adrienne's 90th party, thinking that their mom would invite just a few new friends, Adrienne made her invite list and commented to her children that there were 80+ names on it. Nothing made her happier than being surrounded by friends and family. And everyone loved her, and she loved and cared for them as well. Her friends had a special place in her heart. As her family shared, Adrienne was always good at interviewing people in the kindest of ways. She'd learn all about their life story and would then remember the details. She had a great memory, a human Rolodex of sorts, a great sense of humor, and she was always put together, dressed to the nines, makeup done, nails manicured, and she seemed to have an endless amount of energy, getting so much done in every 24-hour period. As a mom and later as a Gigi, she loved having the kids around as much as possible, watching them, playing with them. Joe, too, was always happy to volunteer to take the grandkids all the time, and Adrienne would joke that it was easy for him to say since she did all the work. Adrienne and Joe were also longtime members of Congregation Makor Shalom, Adrienne most recently of Congregation Kol Ami. They together understood the inherent value of synagogue membership and belonging to a community. While Adrienne never grew up religious, maintaining a connection to the congregation was always vitally important. She understood the need, particularly in moments like this. And while she couldn't join us in person lately, I can still see her perfectly put together, sitting on the middle aisle of our Evesham Road building for our High Holy Day services, always greeting Kenner Hockman and me with the warmest of smiles and the tightest of embraces. It was simply the kind of people your parents were, and we are better for it. As we were wrapping up sharing memories the other day when we met, Ray commented on the first time he went to pick up Janet at her home for a date. He was just about to knock on the door when he heard a huge ruckus inside. Figuring that they must be in the midst of a huge family argument, he decided to wait a few moments. But with it not dying down, he worked up the courage to knock at the door, only for it to be opened and the scene playing out in front of him was just the family having dinner together. I imagine it is these simple yet unforgettable shared moments that will be missed the most. Not just the big and special occasions, but talking to each other, catching up on your day, sharing the moments of life together, and most certainly the love and the passion for life that Adrienne exuded up until the very end. And you gave her the ultimate gift that we wish for everyone received in their final days, to be surrounded by family and friends, surrounded by laughter, stories, memories, even tears and heartache that testifies to the depth of love you shared together. She will be so dearly missed, and we say, Zichrona livracha, may her memory always be for a blessing. We continue with the words of our psalms, these messages of comfort and God's nearness. If you'll join me in the English of Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. We'll now call upon a number of those from Adrienne's family who will be sharing memories together. First, we call upon her children, Sharon, Janet, and Anne.
Is it working, guys?
Just turn it towards you.
First, I want to just look out at all of you and thank each and every one of you for coming today. This has been such a very difficult time for our family, and it has been made easier with all the calls, emails, texts, and visits offering love, support, and comfort. And I want to thank Rabbi Frankel, wherever he is. And you will notice an overlap because when we were all together sharing memories about Mom, we realized we had written her eulogy while talking to Rabbi Frankel's wife, and so there'll be some shared memories from her and us. Well, first of all, we're Adrienne's three daughters. I'm Sharon, the eldest. My husband Fred is miserably sick, so he's not here with us today. I know he's very sad because he loved Mom so much. This is Janet, the middle sister, but she's not a middle child. And her husband Our mother was born in Philadelphia on March 9th, 1934, to Sophie and Harry Dion, the youngest of 4 children. Mom's childhood was not a typical one. At the age of 1, her mother became ill and was hospitalized until she died when Mom was just 7 years old. During that time, her 2 older sisters, Sylvia and Florence, acted as surrogate mothers. There's an infamous story of this time when Mom was about 5 years old and came down the stairs missing an eyebrow. When quizzed about it, Mom explained that she went like this, and it just fell off. Sylvia immediately turned to her father and demanded, "Did you leave your razor out where Adrienne could get it?" Mom was so relieved that someone else had taken the fall, and she never got into trouble. Mom lived lived with her father, her brother Teddy, and her sisters and multiple housekeepers until her father remarried and moved when she was a teenager. In order to stay in her school district, she moved in with her sister Sylvia, who was 16 years older, and her new husband, Uncle Maury, and then with their young family. That led to an extremely close relationship with her nephew Stanley and her niece Leon. As Stanley and Rowan began to talk, Sam Aunt Adrienne was a tongue twister, hence the name A was born. Mom became the family babysitter for all her nieces and nephews, going from home to home to be with them. During Mom's dating years, Mom lived with her sister Florence, husband Al, and then their young daughter Randy. Mom was a graduate of Olney High School in Philadelphia. Although she always wanted to go to college, it wasn't an option, and she joined the workforce. We know she would have thrived if she had the opportunity to go to college. She was so bright and curious. She was a woman of many interests. In November 1953, Mom met Dad on the blind date. This story has become Seligman family lore. Dad had been dating quite a bit in the early 1950s, but he wanted to meet a tall woman. A friend of Dad's who was dating a girlfriend of Mom's at the time obliged by setting Joe up with 5'8" Adrienne. Now, much desired Adrienne, and if you saw the picture out in the lobby, you'll know why, was having a dating flurry of her own, and it wasn't until Dad's 3rd phone call that she was even home to arrange this date. Their first date was to a movie, but not a romantic picture or even an action thriller, but a slow-moving documentary about fish, of all things. Well, Mom, who had already been out on dates several nights that week, fell asleep. But there must have been some spark, some chemical connection, something magical. Or was it just that she kissed on the first date? But that first date led to another and another. On their 3rd or 4th date, Dad took Mom to a fancy restaurant in New Jersey. During their dinner conversation, Dad, who had already served in World War II and was by this time in his late 20s, discovered that Mom was only 19. He panicked as he was concerned that he would get in trouble because the Mann Act prohibited taking women under 21 across state lines for dubious purposes. Despite the difference in their age, their romance blossomed, and on February 20th, 1955, they married. The relationship and romance she shared with Dad was inspirational for all of us. Dad was her soulmate. When he would travel for business and be gone for weeks at a time, she could not wait for his return. When he would get home from work, or later when he was retired and she would be out all day, he couldn't wait to hear about every detail of her day. Dad was her biggest fan and would always be brimming at all her accomplishments with pride and love. In November 1955, I arrived. Stephen 2 years later, Janet 6 years after that, and after another 4 and in spite of her unconventional childhood, our mom was a great mom, so caring, giving, kind, and empathetic. I remember in high school, all her friends were complaining how they couldn't stand their moms, couldn't talk to them about anything. We never felt that way. Mom was our confidant and advisor. We have a kaleidoscope of warm memories of family meals, as Ray's story pointed out. Whether it was just a regular weeknight dinner, each of us taking a turn telling about our day, or the many family celebrations. Often after dinner when we were young and Mom and Dad would be hugging in the kitchen, Anne would be trying to squeeze in between them. Our dog would be barking, and through all the commotion, Mom would laugh and say, "I'm going to run away." And the little Anne would chime in, "I'm coming too." Of course, the whole family would laugh, and inevitably, at the height of all this fuss, the telephone would ring. The person on the other end would often say, "Oh, I'm sorry, are you having a hard And Mom would reply, "No, it's just dinner time." What fond memories we have of the love and enthusiasm that was the Seligman household of our youth. Mom was an excellent self-taught cook. She had a knack for preparing delicious meals and a flair for entertaining. Her baked Alaska and flaming cherry jubilee were always a hit. With her unending energy, she raised her 4 children, took care of our home, and volunteering in a very big way. Leadership roles were what fulfilled her. President of the League of Women Voters, Vice President of our Hebrew School, and President of the Women's Auxiliary for the Jewish Geriatric Home. Mom regularly had to speak at organization functions, and typical of our mom, she not only looked beautiful, standing so straight and tall, but spoke eloquently and spontaneously without prepared remarks. And when most women were relaxing as their children left the nest, Mom entered the workforce. Our cousin Sue Ellen had an interview and gave Mom as a reference. When Mom was speaking to the manager, she said to Mom, "This job would be perfect for you." And that's how Mom ended up working for Getting to Know You, selling advertising to retail businesses, a job that was right up her alley. She was incredibly successful. She had no problem walking into a business, introducing herself, and selling her product. Her ability to sell was uncanny. We remember one time she went in to sell a business, and the owner told her that he didn't need advertising because the world was going to end the following week. Mom promptly replied, then what's the harm of buying it? You won't have to pay the bill." Of course it worked. She ranked as the number 1 or 2 salesperson of the year, many times sharing that honor with Sue Ellen when she later joined the company. Mom was an avid bridge player. She was highly competitive, and all of the skills she used in life made her an excellent player. It was not unusual for us to come home from school and find Mom and 3 other women in the living room sitting at the card table playing bridge, something they had been at for hours. And that was only the time she was playing at home. Mom had so much energy. After she started working, her typical day would include selling Getting to Know You, playing bridge, going food shopping, and coming home to make a nice dinner. Besides raising children, volunteering, and working, Mom and Dad shared so many interests: the opera, the ballet, the orchestra, chamber music, the theater, annual subscriptions filling their calendars. And did they love to travel? Mom and Dad saw the world, truly. Mom's first trip to Europe was in 1962, and after that, it was Panama, Russia, Norway, Sweden, Finland, China, Greece, Australia, New Zealand, cruising around Cape Horn in South America, to name a few, and many trips throughout the United States as well. And when she became a grandmother to Tori, Maddie, Rachel, Jenny, and Greg, wow. She was thrilled when each one of you were born, rushing to hospitals to be one of the first to meet and hold each of you, and for Rachel, being there right in the delivery room. She was there for each of you as much as she was there for each of us. She felt so blessed to have 5 grandchildren and to see you all become adults. She told us numerous times how wonderful each of you are, your visits, sharing meals, playing card games, going shopping. I can't look at you, Rachel. And the thrilling love of becoming a great-grandmother, Gigi, to Tori's and Rob's 2 girls, Carly and Haley. The delight on her face when she would receive pictures and videos on the shared album that she thought until the very end that Rob was just sending to her. All this family and work, and she still had time to cultivate true and long-lasting friendships. Mom was such a good friend, calling and being with them in good and bad times. Her friends, like her family, could always count on her for an errand, to give advice, to fill in that fridge. She would make friends with ease wherever she was. In line at the grocery, on a cruise, sitting next to someone at dinner. She would always come away from a short exchange with someone and know several details about their lives. Anne remembers that when she was on bed rest, pregnant with her twins, Mom used to drive Rachel to nursery school. All the other mothers loved chatting with her and missed her after Anne returned. Anne knows that they liked having Mom around better than her. She demonstrated that same interest in getting to know people with her aides right up until the end. She might not have remembered the aide's name, but she would remember and ask about a detail they had shared at their previous visit. Mom was a great wife, mother, cook, friend, but we can't forget the fact that she also knew everything. If someone wanted to know where to buy something, they would ask Mom. She would tell them where to get the best price, the best quality, the right gift, whatever they needed. Mom was GPS before there was GPS. If someone wanted to know how to get somewhere, they would ask her. No one would ever get lost. Mom also had an uncanny knack for doctoring. She became the concierge doctor for all the family and even our friends. We would tell everyone that she must have been a doctor in another life. We remember there was a neighbor who asked her about a problem he was having, figuring she would know because she's a doctor. She was so in the know medically, he thought she really was a doctor. Mom approached her move to the Evergreens as with everything else in her life, with optimism and enthusiasm. Her first months there were a challenge, as it was during the pandemic, and she had a nasty fall that landed her in the wellness center for several weeks. Once recovered, she thrived. Being her gregarious self, she would walk down the hallway smiling and saying hello to everyone, whether she had met them before or not. It was finally her chance to live in a college dorm. She had invitations every night of the week to eat with different new friends. They all became her dear, dear friends. Many of them are here with us today. My sisters and I were so happy how Mom made a new full life for herself at the Evergreens, playing bridge, organizing trips to the Ardennes, sharing meals. She loved it there. The evidence of the closeness she found was shown to us when planning her 90th birthday. A few months prior to her birthday, I asked her how she'd like to celebrate. Would she like to have her friends over to her apartment to celebrate with her? She loved that idea and told me she'd make a list. She called me a day later saying there would be a problem. I couldn't imagine what it could be. She said her list had 88 people on it. That's our mom. The same amount of interest in meeting the residents of the Evergreens she extended to the wonderful people who worked there. Everyone became her friend. A few weeks before Mom passed, the wait staff, who are high school students, came up to her apartment to visit with her and bring her cookies. Mom told us how touched and moved she was with their visit and the numerous visits from Jerry and Dave, the drivers who took her everywhere after she gave up driving. Growing up, our mom was not one to say I love you to us very often. There really was no need. We never, ever doubted how deeply we were loved. With 4 children, she managed to make each of us feel special, giving us 100% of her attention, attending all our various sporting events, piano recitals, ballet performances, and plays. It wasn't until later in life that saying those 3 words became something she would say to us frequently, and with deep meaning. When we think of our mom, there are so many descriptions that come to mind. Outgoing, social, energetic, intelligent, curious, friendly, warm, a zest for living, great attention to detail, perfect posture, always dressed impeccably and stylishly, with beautifully coiffed hair, and perfect makeup. Did we mention her memory? Oh my, it was spot on. Dr. Coleman, a friend of hers from Evergreens, would call her the Rolodex, as she would remember something quickly and would be spot on with her recollection. My sisters and I learned never to argue with any memory she had, as she was always right. Mom was an optimist and a realist. If we were relating a sad incident or were feeling down, she would raise our spirits by reminding us it always could be worse. She never sugar-coated anything. She faced life challenges head-on with an accepting attitude. Her optimism and strength carried her through these last weeks. She accepted her diagnosis and met it with grace and dignity. She didn't want us to be sad about her diagnosis and told us not to cry. We tried to listen. Mom, you gave us so many life lessons, not so much in words, but by being our role model for healthy, long-lasting relationships. Always communicate. Never go to bed angry. Show interest in others. Give back to your community. Cultivate warm, loving, supportive friends. Be a leader. Be inclusive. The importance of family. In our final conversations, one of your worries was that with you being gone, would we still be as close as we've been all these years? We assured you that yes, with you as our teacher, you would never have to worry for one moment that the close family connections will continue throughout our lives with us, with your grandchildren, and with your great-grandchildren. We will miss our numerous daily calls with you, sharing the details of our days, sharing a joke, and just being in your presence. We love you with our overflowing hearts. Thanks.
We now call upon Adrienne's grandchildren to join us up here to share memories: Tori, Maddie, Rachel, Greg, and Jenny.
For those of you who don't know, I'm Tori, Mom's first grandchild, the daughter of Sharon and Fred, and the mom to Haley and Carly, who made Mom Gigi. To paraphrase Emerson, what is success? To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to appreciate the beauty, to find the best in others, to know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is success. And this is you, Mom. Everyone here today can say they have breathed easier, smiled bigger, laughed louder, felt warmth and love because of you. When we think about a mom or grandparents in general, we always think about them spoiling their grandchildren, letting them stay up late, eat whatever they wanted, multiple desserts, and so on. Well, that was not the case with my mom in charge. We followed the rules and routines as they were laid out. Everything was to go according to plan. Breakfast was not a choice of Lucky Charms, but rather of Raisin Bran or cornflakes. If we had to be somewhere, we had to leave at the exact time and go the exact route as outlined. We were not spoiled in the traditional sense, but when it came to time, guidance, support, and love, we were spoiled rotten. We knew each other for a long time, 36 years, and as I look back over my life, I cannot picture a moment when you were not there. You were the first to find out I was born and frantically tried to reach my parents. You were at every sporting event, even when I wasn't good, and piano recitals, which I was good at, school events, birthdays, holidays, and the births and lives of your great-granddaughters. I still remember how much you screamed when I told you I was pregnant with Carly. To say there is now a void is an understatement. You are and will be deeply missed. I cannot imagine life without you, but I know that you will always be with me, loving and cheering me and my family on as you did throughout my life. I love you, Mom, and I will miss you tremendously. Thank you for being the truly best Mom and Gigi to Carly and Haley. Love is like the wind. You can't see it, but you can feel it. And even though you are no longer here, your love and our memories with you will be felt and remembered for the rest of our lives. I love you.
I'm Maddie. I'm Mom's second granddaughter, and Sharon and Fred's daughter. Mom, what can I say? You are an amazing person. You have always been there to comfort me when I needed it. You were there for every school event, every sporting event, which we all know wasn't very good at. Every dance recital, every piano recital, you were there for it all. I have such amazing memories of our times at the beach and all the sleepovers at your house. I remember the sleepover where Tori and I were sleeping over. I went downstairs to get a game for us to play, made it to the kitchen, and the alarm started going off. Let me just say, whoever's living there now, that alarm system is very traumatizing. I'll remember all of our talks about life and relationship advice that you would give me all the time when we talked. I'm truly going to miss talking to you. You would tell me how proud of me you were, and I hope I continue to make you proud. You're such a beautiful soul inside and out. You could walk into any room, strike up a conversation with anyone. It didn't matter if you'd just met them or I had known them for years. You always made them feel special. You touched so many people's lives and made so many feel loved. When I told you I was becoming sober, you were so proud of me. This past Sunday, I was laying down with you, and I had said, guess what, Mom? I just hit the 2-year mark. You reached over and grabbed my hand. said, "I'm so proud of you. Keep going." I promised you I would, and I'm going to keep that promise.
Mom, you are the rock of this family and are going to be so missed by everyone. I love and miss you so much.
Hi everyone. For those of you who don't know us, we are Adrienne's other grandchildren, or Ann and Bruce's kids. My name is Rachel. This is my sister Jenny and my brother Greg. My sister is going to start for us, but if one of us starts crying, we might need the other to step in, so the tenses might not make sense. Do you know that quote, "Jack of all trades, master of none"? Well, my mom was definitely not familiar. Our grandmother was a master of all, and everyone knew it. She was a doctor if you were sick, an encyclopedia if you had a question, and a terrifying opponent when we played poker or canasta. As the epitome of a Jewish grandma, I've never had a brisket or matzo ball soup that tasted quite as good as hers. She had a fantastic memory and could tell you the name of every place she ever went. She prided herself on being a Rolodex for others. My mom was good at everything she did. She even mastered backseat driving. I would not dare turn Waze on in her presence. My mom had discovered the secret to life. Happiness keeps you young. There was never an event or public place we went we didn't hear, "There's no way your grandma is," insert current age at the time. She taught us to travel the world, be a friend to everyone, and accept everything life has to offer. My brother might not relate, but as a woman, my grandmother showed Jenny and I what it is like to be strong and powerful, defying stereotypes and setting the tone for how I live my life. The women in my family are all forces to be reckoned with, and I believe we all have her to thank for that. I hope one day I can look back and say I lived my life to be even half the woman she is today, or was, sorry. Greg.
On top of all her other skills, our mum truly mastered being a grandmother. My siblings, cousins, and I enjoyed countless sleepovers, game nights, and movie trips with her. She was the most supportive and loving person, always eager to lend a hand when we needed anything. We never accomplished anything without a phone call the very next day congratulating us and telling us how proud she was. My mum was always there, every step of the way, cheering us on. One of the last times I saw her, I was telling her about all the events going on in our lives. Jenny finishing law school, Anna and I buying a house, and Rachel getting engaged. In response to all these milestones, my mom responded, "It's a terrible time to be dying." But I told her, "There's never a great time to be dying, but isn't this a great time to be living?" She quickly agreed. In her last few weeks, my mom got to witness all three of us enter brand new chapters of our lives. And we know wherever she is now, she is telling Pop-Up how proud she is of us. She was the best mum anyone could ever ask for, and we are so glad to have had her in our lives for as long as we did.
Holding all of those memories in our hearts, the memories that will continue to surface through these days of Shiva, we share the following poem. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember her. In the blowing of wind and in the chill of winter, we remember her. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember her. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember her. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember her. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember her. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember her. So long as we live, she too shall live, for she is now a part of us as we remember her. I invite you to please rise now for our memorial prayer of El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bam Romim, Hamtze Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Im Kedoshim Otehorim Kezohar Harakia Mazhirim, Et Nishmat Adrienne Shel Halcha La'olamach, Ba'al Harachamim Yastirecha, Beseter Kenafav La'olamim, Bitzror HaChayim Et Nishmatach, Adonai hu nachalatach, v'tanuach b'shalom al mishkava, v'nomar. Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Adrienne, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence and in the shadow of your wings. Let her soul always be bound up in the bonds of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she now rest in peace. And together we say, Amen. Please be seated. Interment will follow our chapel service at Crescent Memorial Park. Following interment, the family will be observing Shiva this afternoon. Tomorrow from 7 until 9 in the evening with a minyan service at 7:30. Sunday from 2 to 5 in the afternoon and 7 to 9 in the evening, again with a minyan service at 7:30. And Monday from 2 to 5. Adrienne's family will be observing Shiva at the home of Anne and Bruce Bauman in Morristown.